You know the real reason why we're seeing a surge of powerlifters and bodybuilders moving towards boxing and combat sports recently? Well, it's quite obvious. It's because they've all come to the realization that sports built on drug usage and drug abuse don't mean shit and aren't going to be remembered. It's not impressive by any means to dedicate yourself to a sport that involves abusing drugs and harming your body in the long run. The only reason that people want to put on mass amounts of muscle mass is because they want to appear bigger, stronger, and superior physically to others. But in reality, that's just not the case. When you can't fight, it doesn't really matter how much muscle mass is on your body, you simply can't fight. And that's where combat sports comes into play for people who want to try and prove themselves. For example, we've seen Steffi Cohen recently try and take on boxing. She's had a very successful career in bodybuilding and powerlifting, and yet here she is trying to prove herself as a boxer. So what other reason for doing this would she have other than the fact that she knows that she hasn't really accomplished anything as far as proving herself as an athlete? What do sports that specialize in drug usage really bring to the table? Absolutely nothing. It doesn't impress anyone. It doesn't prove anything as far as you being an athlete. It doesn't prove any heart. It just proves that you have dedication to using drugs and lifting heavy weights and building up mass amounts of muscle mass. But it doesn't mean anything for proving who you are as an athlete and proving that you're the best. This is exactly why so many powerlifters and bodybuilders are trying to make the switch to combat sports, because they're trying to save their legacy. They're trying to make themselves out to be something that they clearly are not and that they clearly don't have within them. The reason I say this is because I have absolutely no respect for drug addicts. I have absolutely no respect for those who have accomplished certain things in sports. As long as they use drugs and steroids, you mean absolutely nothing, and you're probably not going to be remembered in the end. And that's probably what a lot of these athletes are coming to terms with acknowledging, is that nobody's going to care for drug usage in the end. Nobody's going to care for a sport in which people continuously die from enlarged hearts because of mass amounts of drug usage. So this is why we're seeing such a huge switch from powerlifting, bodybuilding, and over to combat sports. But it's not working out, because if you don't have it within you to do a combat sport, you simply just don't have it within you. But one thing to make very clear is that steroid users and drug addicts ruin sports in general. They absolutely ruin sports in general. If you think that men pretending to be women are ruining women's sports, well, drug users and drug addicts in general are ruining sports altogether. I could literally diet better than someone, train harder and smarter than someone, and for the simple fact that they just have better genetics than me, they can beat me in a bodybuilding contest. But when it comes to something like combat sports, when it's just a one-on-one, all-out clash between two warriors, it's a totally different story. It comes down to who has the more heart right then and there, who's stronger, who's faster, who has better timing, who is just the overall better athlete and fighter. But in bodybuilding, this is nothing like that. Bodybuilding primarily comes down to how much drugs you take, how well you can diet, but also your genetics. If you don't have the genetics for bodybuilding, you're fucked from the get-go. Which is why no real athlete even cares for bodybuilding, because it's not an athlete in which you can train in skill. It's just an athlete in which whoever has the best genetics has the advantage from the get-go. But again, when it comes to fighting, it doesn't matter how much drugs you take, how much muscle mass you have on your body. This thing right here, it's just as strong as it was before you took steroids. Taking steroids doesn't give you a stronger chin. So even if you were a skinny little prick and you bulked up 100 pounds of pure muscle mass from steroids and all the drugs you took, your chin is still in the same state it was when you were a 100-pound, weak little manling. So that's just something to put out there to calm the egos of all the egoistic and meathead roid addicts and drug addicts who boost their egos by taking drugs and just putting on mass amounts of body mass, which is unhealthy in the end.